Good evening, husband.
Are we talking?
We are talking.
Can't fucking dawdle tonight.
Dawdle.
Yeah, talk nothing like talk just shit.
Right. Okay, the meaning of life.
The meaning of life.
Let's-
I know the meaning
get
of
it
life.
out there.
So
42.
let's just
So no
first
sugar.
let's just welcome all our subscribers who are watching.
Hello, all our subscribers that are watching.
Welcome to anyone who's watching.
That's not a subscriber.
That's not a subscriber.
If you're not a subscriber, please subscribe. Give us a thumbs up.
A thumbs up.
Yeah, Porky Pig.
That's all, folks.
And because what is it? Andy Cabby says it tickles the algorithm.
Tickles the algorithm. Do you know what? I think my thing is going to be stealing other people's catchphrases because I've stolen Russ's a couple of times.
Nice to see you.
Yeah. Oh, are you already here? That's good because I was just about to start. But my favourite one is...
Oh, not just anyone's catchphrase then.
Everyone's.
Like, what about Barrymore's? Oh, no, that wasn't Barrymore, was it? Nice to see you nice. That was Bruce Forsyth.
Yeah, all right, yeah, I'm going to steal loads of people's catchphrases.
What's a hotspot not?
It's a cracker. I might have to start doing that. Just like trying to work in a catchphrase from someone.
It's a puppet.
So if you haven't subscribed,
please
why not?
do. It's free.
It's free. If you hear me say someone's catchphrase, when you hear the catchphrase, put it in the comments of what it is that we've stolen.
Or borrowed with pride.
Do you know what I like and what I think sets apart some of the YouTubers who watch is that Trevor starts his videos the same. Russ is pretty much the same. When you watch Avid Gardener, she starts hers nearly always the same. And I think that's what makes it good. Like what I like about Andy's is he does a little teaser and then he puts his music and his logo and then gets into the video.
Shall we have a little teaser then?
We don't have an intro. We don't have a welcome all our subscribers.
Should we practice them?
What, while we're recording?
Well, we could practice tomorrow when we're not recording.
I think I think what we need is an intro.
Do we need a script?
Where we say...
Can we have the music from Tales of the Unexpected?
No, because I don't think you can just have anyone's music.
Why not?
Because of copyright.
Yeah, but we can give it its credit.
I'm thinking of doing, finally, the Hutches have come back to the living room. If you smell your farts.
I like Brussels.
I know you like Brussels.
They don't like me, though. They don't like you.
That's why you voted Remain.
I did not vote.
No, I know.
Either.
Only because you couldn't be asked to walk to the fucking polling station. It was, though, wasn't it?
It's disgusting, though, because I should vote because women threw themselves under horses for me to have a right to vote.
I'm disgusted. Right. In fact, I'm so disgusted with you, I'm going on Twitter right now. I'm going... Anyone that's got me on Twitter, which is 3 people, you'll find this.
I can't vote for them because I don't trust any of them.
I'm doing it right now.
And when we think about there's a calculation, an equation of trust. They don't meet my expectations, so I can't trust them. And that's because we're in the 4th turning.
Disgusted with the...
I'm not on Twitter, so no
fittest hutch for not voting. Hashtag suffragettes.
Emily Pankhurst.
I don't think she's on Twitter.
No, that was a suffragette that threw herself under the king's horse.
Hashtag, what was her name?
Emily Pankhurst.
Mrs.
I don't know if she was Mrs. She might.
She probably wasn't. If she was a feminist, she was probably a ms or a them or a they.
She wouldn't have been in 19 whatever.
I'm disgusted with the fittest hutch for not voting. Hashtag suffragettes. Tweet. Boom. Just done you on fucking Twitter.
Well, Twitter can go fucking tweet my arse.
4th turn now. What's that? That's a new one apart from when we discussed it last night.
No, I was reading about. Well, I wasn't reading because I don't like reading. I found a
I'm
new.
thick as shit.
No, do you know? Do you know what it is about reading? There's two types of readers in this world. Do you know about reading?
Well,
No, but
I am aware that there's books.
no. Are you aware that there's two types of readers?
Yeah, fast readers and slow readers.
But do you know why?
Go on.
So there are two types of readers. There are people that can pick a book up and read very quickly, and they read every word, and it's in. And then there's me, who reads every word like I'm telling the story, like I'm narrating it. And then all of a sudden, I've got all these characters in my head, and she's got a blue dress on, and I described the town and or whatever the places they're describing, and then it's all in my head. And then a little bit further in the book, that changes because they've added something that doesn't fit. So then I have to undo everything that my imagination's made up.
That's how I read.
And then make a new imagination, like a new visual story in my head. And it's hard work.
Story in my head.
And it's hard work. So then you quit. You get bored because it's like, oh, doesn't make sense now. So
Do you know, sometimes when I read a book, I used to read like Karen Slaughter books. I don't really know why. They were very good though. I would get to like the 12th chapter or something, and then I go, shit, I don't know what's going on here. I think I've probably skipped past a few bits. Because I'll read and I'll get bored of the bit I'm reading. So I'll just skip. I don't need to know all this. It's not essential to the story. Why do I give a shit whether they've gone grocery shopping? It's not essential to the story. I'll just skip that. Oh shit, I've skipped too much here. I've missed something. I have to go back.
You skip bits.
Yeah, I do skip bits.
You shouldn't skip bits.
You know how long it takes to read a fucking book?
Whereas our lad, absorbed, stuck. He's not bothered about the narrative and like the imaginative bit of it. And that's why some people, once they get into a book, they find series really good because they've already got to know the characters. They've already formed the characters and the setting in their head. So the next book round, it's not as difficult.
I just think like it takes me 3 weeks to read a book. It takes me 2 hours to watch a film. It's a no-brainer. I've got shit to do in life.
Well, this is the new thing. So I've subscribed to audiobooks now because I'm a very busy person. I am a very busy person, and I don't physically have time to sit down for an hour and read a book.
And I also think it takes effort to imagine what somebody looks like. You watch a film, they're there.
But I don't watch a film. Do you know what I do? Got an audiobook now. I can iron, I can hoover, I can do household jobs, I can drive, while someone tells me what it is in a book. And you've still got to form some level of story in your head. There are other types of audiobooks where it literally tells you what to think.
Can you imagine an audiobook by BBC? And then Janet entered the room. Janet is a lesbian, transgender. She's also mixed race and she's got a disability. Jonathan is now going to the toilet. Jonathan has to take his time because he has a learning difficulty. However, we don't judge him on that. It'd be a fucking nightmare, wouldn't it? Because I think, right, I know that I read a series of novels, right? Are they called novels? Or is that just for like things like Pride and Prejudice? So Karen Slaughter's books are all in a series. Novel. So all of her books are in a series. And they've got all the same characters in. And now I'm thinking back, they were all white, able-bodied people. They weren't all males, obviously, because I wouldn't make like Sarah Linton a male. But then that makes me even worse because she could be he, could be a he, just because she's called he, them, they, it's called Sarah. Fucking hell, it's a minefield reading a book. Suddenly now I'm racist, I'm homophobic. I didn't make any of them gay.
You don't have to make people gay in books.
Well, you do. You would if it was a film.
Anyway, I've got into audiobooks and I've got into listening to stuff because I find that I can absorb it better than reading, and I can do something else at the same time because I can multitask.
Can we just make it clear to the listeners that I was talking to you for 20 minutes today before I realised that you would put your headphones on and you were listening to a podcast in here and I'm talking away to myself.
Was it?
Yeah.
What was you saying?
I can't remember now. Maybe it wasn't important. Maybe it was. Guess what? We'll never know because I can't remember shit like that. And then Daisy Ray was sat here with you after about 20 minutes, I was in the kitchen. I kept talking through. Eventually, she went, Mum can't hear you. She got headphones in. I was like, you could have told me that fucking 20 minutes ago.
What, the daughter or me?
No.
I
Daisy
didn't
Ray.
know. I didn't know you was talking to me.
No, you didn't. But Daisy Ray knew I was talking
does
to
that
you, and she
mean
knew
that-
you had your headphones in.
Is that how we normally talk then? Do I just not respond because you
Yeah.
didn't notice?
No, I'm just used to you not responding.
Shut up. I did this course last week before. It's like that coaching course, and it was talking about listening and how we listen, and it was quite interesting because I thought that I listen. I am quite a good listener. That's what I do for a living. But I've noticed people not listening to me, and it's infuriating when you think. When you know the cues, exactly. When you know the cues of when people aren't listening to you, it's quite annoying. Go, what was that? Say that again. I think, no, I don't want to say that again because I've said it once and you were meant to be listening to me. Shouldn't have to repeat myself.
But how do they know, though, I'm meant to be listening to you?
Because they're engaging in a conversation, but they're not because they're looking at you, but their mind's somewhere else.
Do you know, sometimes I'll be sat doing something on my iPad and you'll talk to me and I won't really hear what you're saying. And then I go, sorry, what was that? And you go, it don't matter. And I think, well, it did matter. It's not my fault you decided to talk to me when I was halfway through reading something. Like, my brain's supposed to go, she's fucking talking to you. You better listen. I'm like, well, I'm going to listen. So let me finish this sentence. No, you need to listen now because it's important what she's saying. I can hear there's something important going on there. And then I go, yeah. And I hope that it's not a question.
Oh, yeah. Like, can I have a tenner? Yeah.
Yeah. You'd know I wouldn't say yeah to that. I ain't got a tenner.
Yeah. You got my tenner.
So, oh shit, I fucking forgot about that.
I didn't.
Okay, so what have you been listening to?
I've been listening. I've been reading this book. I've actually got the book.
I want to read that.
I've got the book.
We've talked about Start With Why before, though, haven't we?
Yeah, I got the book, and I was given the book as part of a work course that I'm doing. And the last time I went on the course, I had to commit to doing something between the last course and this course, and I was like, "Oh, I will read my book." So it got to Wednesday night, and I thought, I haven't read my book. I promised that I'd read my book, and commitment's really important to me. So if I say I'm going to do something, I will do it. So I thought, right, how am I going to read my book between now? I don't have to read it all. I just have to have read some of it. So that's why I downloaded the app, because I thought, actually, I can have someone read the book to me. I've got to drive. I had an hour's drive to go to Lincoln on Thursday, so that's a good hour, isn't it? And then my evening, I didn't go to choir this week, did I? Because of the weather. We had snow. So.
And you didn't go this week because you wanted to be nosy. With the guest who was having on.
No, it was
she
bad.
Was good, wasn't
it was
she?
bad weather, and we sit in a dusty cold church. It's not fun this time of year.
She was good, wasn't she, on Thursday?
Yeah, she was really good, actually.
We're gonna have her back on.
I've got a little of a girl crush on her because she's not a young woman, is she?
No.
But
she looks good.
No, she does. She looks phenomenal, and I would say she looks in her 40s.
Oh yeah.
But a good, healthy young 40, not like me looking a bit haggard.
Oh, you're amazing. So something that come out on the podcast last night, one of the subjects again was wanting to talk about chronic illness. But do you know what? I was having a conversation with Russ today, and I think trying to get the balance of this podcast right is going to be quite difficult, because we can talk about mental health every week. It's the mental health podcast, but it's the same things over and over, and people don't want to watch the same thing over and over.
I might be wrong, but the feeling I get is that people are looking or seeking for the answer, which is the holy grail, isn't it? If we all had the answers to what was the meaning of life and what's going to make everything better, then there'd be no mental health problems, and there'd be no mental health nurses or psychiatric doctors or psychologists, because we'd have the answer and everyone would be doing what they need to do. I think that's the thing, isn't it? People are seeking the potentially the unobtainable, and that doesn't mean to say that you can't have mental health or positive mental health and mental health stability, or be absent of mental health significant problems. But I think it has to start with individuals and what it is they desire, and what it is they want, and what it is they're gonna do, because it's not just gonna land on someone's door.
No, and the thing is, I think I've talked about this a lot to people, that if you want something to change, you've got to change it. And I hear a lot of excuses. I'm not talking about the subscribers, I just mean in general. A lot of excuses. Well, I couldn't do this because the doctors didn't listen, and I couldn't do this because this didn't happen. I couldn't do this because I couldn't exercise because I've got that. And I hear loads.
Sometimes you have to challenge the status quo, don't you?
Yeah, that's it. I hear loads of excuses from people every day, especially within health and fitness. Oh, I remember someone telling me they couldn't eat healthy because they didn't like fruit and veg. So that's out. Like, my diet needs to stay the same. So you need to give me something that's going to help with that. And I was like, well, there isn't. Like, you can come in my gym as much as you want and come and train. But if you are eating 3 Chineses a week with chips, and there were three takeaways a week, normally a full Chinese, you can't out-train a bad diet.
I think often, whatever the chronic health condition is, because there's thousands out there, isn't there? I think often people are so focused on what they can't do and what they've lost. It's almost like a grief for a life that they think they should have, rather than being focused on the life that they've got, and the things, when we talk about gratitude, the things that we're grateful for. Like, you wake up every day and you're breathing, and there's always something to be thankful, to be grateful, to be thoughtful for.
And that's what people have got to concentrate on.
And I think that's the mindset often, isn't it? When there is a chronic, and some chronic illnesses are really debilitating, and some days are going to be worse than others. But I think it has to start with taking control of your own life. And if you've got a debilitating health condition, some days are going to be worse than others, and it's accepting that, okay, on my bad days, what is my optimum? What is it? And if that's getting up and having a wash and meeting your basic needs, then you've achieved that, haven't you? But on my days where I've got a bit more ability, what is my optimum? Because that's going to be different. And focusing on what you can do rather than focusing on all the things you can't do. Because there's loads of things I can't do. I haven't got a long-term health condition, but I can't horse ride, and I can't climb the stairs 20 times. I can't exercise I'm not super fit. I haven't got great cardio, so I can't run because I look like I've got a disability.
You do.
And
no, not you do have a disability. You do look like you have a disability when you run.
But I think I don't have a long-term health condition, but there's loads of things I can't do, and there's loads of things I can't do that I wish I could do. But then, do I do anything about it? And if I don't, then I can't sit here and complain and moan that I can't play the piano to grade 9 because I haven't dedicated the time, or I haven't put the steps in place to enable me to do that.
Yeah, I get that, but I think I've seen a couple of comments, and the comment would be, yeah, but what if you can't? What if you can't? What if you're in pain all day, every day? You don't feel like doing any of that?
But there's always something people can do, don't they? Like, I know what you're saying about people saying they can't. Well, they might not be able to exercise, but there's other things that you can do with your life, isn't there? Exercise might not be for everybody, but if you can get up the stairs or move around your house, you don't have to go for a run or
meaningful activity again. That's what we're talking about, isn't it?
It's about putting, And I was watching this thing today about extrinsic and intrinsic values, and as a society we base everything on extrinsic values. So the things around us, like I've got to have success so I can have the clothes, so I can have the car, so I can have the status and that. And the world's getting a little bit tired of it. The world's getting a little bit tired of, we don't give a shit if you've got Louis Vuitton shoes, or and we're going back into our internal values, really, about what's important, and that's about having a deep and meaningful relationship with the world and people in it. And this bloke that I was listening to, he was saying like his extrinsic and intrinsic values were often in
Conflicted.
in battle with each other, and it's almost like a devil and a angel on his shoulders, because he said like he's been quite successful, he's worked hard, he's got a good amount of money, and he was like, every now and then it's like, yeah, look at her, she's hot, she's fit, and like she looks amazing, but in her head there's nothing that drives him intellectually. And he's like, go on, I'll ask her out for a date, and it never lasts. And then he's got other people that he's got really deep and meaningful connections with, but they're not like Instagram ready, or and a lot of these social influencers, they're saying now that actually they're really unhappy with this valueless kind of sense. And I think when people are unhappy, it's because, like, what is it they're unhappy with? What is it they're seeking? Is it that they're wanting? Is it their extrinsic values? Are they seeking that better lifestyle, that holiday, that whatever it is? Because those aren't the important things.
Do you think that's come from, and again, this is something that was discussed briefly last night, do you think it comes from living in a digital world that absolutely isn't real? Because I could be someone on Twitter, and I could go on there and I could post a picture of somebody like who looks completely nothing like me or whatever, and advertise this life that I've got, stick a few of the key hashtags in, like the proper woke ones, and be someone completely different to who I actually am, and make out that I'm really happy or really rich or really successful or whatever. And I'm actually just me, and I'm not living in the real world. And I think that happens a lot on social media.
Being part of the machine, isn't it? This thing I was watching today was talking about being part of the machine, but people are fighting back now against it. So there was some advertising on the tube in London and stuff a few years ago, and it was advertising a well-known sort of protein powder, and it said, "Are you beach body ready?" And it had like a perfect picture of female, male physique. Are you beach ready? And they said like it made people feel like shit, because that's not achievable for the majority of people. And there was a big uprising, I suppose, amongst a certain group, where they were going around and graffitiing it and sabotaging it, and in the end the tube banned that advertising, because they said actually this advertising is making everyone feel like shit. So when people are unhappy with certain things within society, that there are things that can change it, and I think we are moving towards that. I think there is unrest. Is it in Sao Paulo? I want to say they have no outdoor advertising at all.
Well, because it causes people to feel
so they banned it. All outdoor advertising gone.
So why is that then? Is that because outdoor advertising makes everything out to be perfect, when actually, when everything isn't perfect, everything's pretty messed up?
Yeah, I think so. And I think when people are getting out and about, they don't want to be distracted with, are you beach body ready? Are you this? Do you need that? They want to be out connecting with the world, don't they?
Advertising's fucking brutal, isn't it?
It can be, yeah, really bad. But so yeah, I guess that on a political level, they've made that change in that country. And then we talk about on a social level. So I think change is coming. And like yesterday we were talking about the fourth turning, and the fourth turning's about social constructs changing, and maybe that's part of it now. Maybe that's part of what's coming, where we disconnect from the machine a little bit.
I'm just going to have a look at this, because
what are you looking at?
The fourth turning thing.
The first stage is where you've got social conformity. So governments are strong. There's a strong sense of we all do things the same way. And the last
Is it the
time,
Strauss and Howe generational theory?
yeah. So the last time we had a first turning was post war, where so they tend to there's 4 stages.
Yeah, highs, awakening,
Yeah, so highs, awakening,
unraveling, crisis.
crisis. So you got the first stage, which is the awakening, and that's what they call the prophet stage. And that sounds religious, but basically, that's where, from my understanding, is all societies all kind of singing from the same hymn sheet. No one's stepping out of line. Everyone's doing what's expected of them.
Yeah,
And
so the society is confident about where it wants to go collectively.
yeah,
and the majority centre often feel satisfied and
everyone knows their role.
Yeah, but they feel stifled by conformity.
Yeah, so that starts coming towards the end of it, I guess, people. And the last time we had stage 1 was post World War. So each stage there tends to be quite a big event in history that then changes society as a whole, culturally, and so socially, and the way we kind of live our lives. So Hitler and the war would have been stage 4 before, so sort of big uprising, big change. So going into stage 1 of the awakening, did we say the prophet stage?
Yeah.
And then we kind of had the summer of love, didn't we, in the 60s, and that's when people start pushing against conformity,
and that's the nomad. Yeah.
So people, you've got a split really, but you've got people kind of looking for individualism, people experimenting, people doing their own thing, and there's a big shift between prophet and nomad. And when you think about your own grandparents and parents, they really didn't understand, because it's very different. And I think that went right up until like the moon landings and the killing of JF Kennedy.
The tax revolts in the early 80s.
Yeah, so the poll tax stuff, and there was a few. If you look back in local history, I suppose, there was quite a lot of unrest in England, wasn't there, during the 80s?
Yeah, the poll tax and
big council estates, and people fighting back against the governments, and
it's a bit like social unrest then, isn't
Yeah,
it,
yeah.
really? So and I suppose you could look at like the strikes, the minor strikes, and
Maggie
fighting-
Thatcher and the Falklands and all that kind of stuff. Because I think as a nation, it was the first time that we shouted back at politics, wasn't it? And I remember Maggie Thatcher being on, was it Question Time, and being quite like,
I was too young for that.
these people are asking me really difficult questions, because we never did before. And then you move into the 90s, which is the
Unraveling.
Yeah, the unraveling stage, and that's where people are kind of at their best, really.
Yeah, the heroes.
Yeah, that's what they call the hero stage. And you said yesterday you look back at the 90s and it was the best time.
Well, it was, wasn't it? The 90s and even like the early 2000s.
But then if you look at the 1910s, before all the generation before Hitler, like all the flappers, and
so each of these phases lasts for about 20 to 25 years, doesn't it? So if you think about it,
because I reckon all 4 stages last
100 years.
100 years,
which would be about right, because you think about coming out of the 40s after the war. So you'd be looking at 2040 before we come back round to that. So we would be coming out of the current phase we're in.
I reckon about 2030, because there's no exact science. It's like I say, it's just a theory, but they reckon it happens every 20 to 25 years. And
so we're currently in the real unrest phase.
They reckon we're in crisis stage at the moment, which they think will come to an end around 2030, where there'll be some big event or something that'll happen that'll reshape and distribute the wealth. And so yeah, there's been a lot going on in the world, hasn't there? Obviously we've had COVID.
It's really interesting. I would suggest that anybody that's watching this now who's interested in it, go watch the.
It almost feels apocalyptic, and I've said this to you before. Bloody hell, what else can go happen? We've had bird flu, we've had COVID and normal flu, and we've had there's been war, there's been earthquakes, it just feels
It's like
like the whole
world's
world's
ending.
going to rat shit. And it's
But
like
we've been through that before, haven't we? And that's
it's like the winter, isn't it? The winter of a sociological cycle, I guess.
It must have felt like the world was coming to the end for the people in the 40s who were getting fucking bombed.
Yeah.
But that come right and come round, and I think you get to 2030, you're looking at the 2030s to the 2040s being like what the 90s was. I think music will change again. I think
I hope so, because it's shite.
Yeah, it is at the moment. Yeah, I think the way that people look at things will change, and I think our children will be coming into like we were in the 90s, coming into their phase of that.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope it turns a bit nicer for them. I mean,
But yeah, I would suggest anyone look it up. What was the podcast you was watching that was on? Can you remember what the guy was called?
His name's Neil Strauss,
That's it, Neil Strauss.
and
Yeah.
I just and there's a book as well if you want. There's a book on. I downloaded the free app for Amazon. You get a month free. You get 2 credits for certain books, and then other ones are just free in the library. But I think they're probably like the dog shite ones, and then anything decent that you'd buy from a bookshop. So yeah, I'm gonna look at maybe try and get that one. You keep them forever, and then if it's no good after the month, I probably will cancel my subscription.
Do you think?
And use your Amazon account.
Use my Amazon account. Do you think getting into a wormhole with that stuff though is potentially dangerous? Excuse me. It's potentially dangerous getting into a wormhole about stuff like that. Like you get into a YouTube hole and start watching all these fucking theories of stuff. And
I don't know. I've been a bit more interesting lately. I've been a bit more of an interesting person to talk to because I've got something to talk about.
I love watching stuff that baffles me. You know, like the theories of the pyramids.
I think it's and then the mathematical.
What's his name? Hancock. It's not Neil
and it's
Hancock.
The square of it by so many is like the circumference of the earth and all that.
I can't remember his name. I'm just gonna have a look.
Perfect North and
Hancock pyramids. What's his frigging name? Graham Hancock. That's it. If you watch Graham Hancock, but when Graham Hancock was on the Joe Rogan podcast, and they're talking about what potentially how the pyramids were built, and these guys are very clever scientists. They know their shit. All right, Joe Rogan's not. Joe Rogan's just a stoner, but he knows a lot of stuff. But these guys are really clever scientists, and they're saying that there's no way in the world that the pyramids were built by slaves, for a start.
Well, I had a friend that did Egyptology, and she said the theory is that they were built very much like national service, where people went along and subscribed.
Yeah, there was no way, and that's what this Graham Hancock was saying. He's an archaeologist and a scientist, and he was saying that how perfect it's built. The best what do you call the people that design?
Architects,
that's the word I was looking for. The best architects and the best engineers and the best builders in the world today, with the knowledge we've got, with the tools we've got, with the experience we've got, would struggle to build the pyramids as perfect and as keyed into the dimensions of the planet as they are. And they were built at a time when they didn't even know the planet was round. And it's keyed to true north, to within a fraction of a degree. It's insane on how precise and how clever they've been done. And not just that, the average weight is 2 tons of each block. Some of them blocks weigh 72 tons, and they've been lifted so many 100 feet in the air with no machinery to do it.
Yeah, but they build big shit all the time, don't they? All them years ago. Look at like Lincoln Cathedral, that's been there. I know it's not on the scheme of the pyramids.
It's a little bit different.
I know it's not on the same scale of the pyramids, but they had like trebuchets and stuff, didn't they? That they used to put blind people on them because then they didn't get seasick.
But that's not building a pyramid with 72-ton blocks.
No. Maybe they had really big trebuchets.
Maybe they just had really big people. But I love stuff
But there's
like
a
that.
theory, isn't there, around a sort of a previous super race and a lost
I don't think it's the super race. I
hmm?
think that was Hitler's theory.
No, that there were
A
previously.
lost civilization.
Yeah, and they had superpowers,
Yeah,
and they
yeah.
had, because there's those I think it's in South America, but if you look down on the ground from great height, i.e. in an aeroplane, there's lines that and that what people would consider to be man-made, that look like a picture. I don't know what the picture is, but they go in one side of a mountain and they come out of another side perfectly, and there's no way that they would have seen that, given that powered flight wasn't invented till whenever it was invented.
Yeah, yeah.
So they think there are lost civilizations where we've lived here before, but
We just don't know about it.
there's just no fossils of them, unless the dinosaurs did it.
I mean, a Diplodocus. Do you think a Diplodocus could pick up a 72-ton block?
I don't know. They weren't that big, were they?
They've got big fingers now, haven't they? Like that.
They're a bit thick, though, aren't they, Diplodocuses?
Well, I don't know. Cause how would you know something was thick just by its skeleton?
Because they know how big its brain was in comparison to its
Look how big a bird's
mass.
brain is, but a bird, it can navigate across the other side of the planet with no sat nav or size of the brain. In fact, Isaac was telling me that the smaller your brain, the more intelligent you are. That's why women are more intelligent, because they've got smaller brains.
Yeah. Well, we're smaller people, aren't we? So.
Have you ever been to B&M Bargains on a Saturday?
No.
Tell you them women in there aren't smaller people.
But then this is an issue with like science and medicine and stuff, because all like a dose of paracetamol, we'll say paracetamol, is 1 gram, and it's 1 gram for anyone over the age of 12. But like you're bigger than me, so why is 1 gram suitable for you and still suitable for me for the same headache? And that goes with all medications.
I suppose it's a generalisation to stop anyone overdosing, isn't it?
No, so what they do is, so the male species is a third bigger than the female species, skeletal and brain size and everything. But when they test drugs, and when they're making drugs, they don't test them on female animals. So all drugs are tested on animals at some point before they go to human testing. But they don't test on female animals because of the hormones, and the hormones will potentially interfere with the test results. So they always test on male animals for efficacy and for side effects and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, the drugs that we take as women never been tested on females.
I think this is stupid, but it's what I believe, so fuck it. But I believe in time travel. I do believe in time travel, and I think that's.
Why do you believe in time travel?
Don't know. Why does anyone believe in anything?
Yeah, but what makes you have that belief?
I've seen photos that I believe.
Like what?
So there was a photo of a famous photo of a guy, and I'll see if I can find it. And it's a crowd of people watching a parade or something go past.
Was it JFK killing?
No, it's not, but it looks like that kind of thing. It looks like there's all like Americans, and they're all stood, and all the men are in their suits with the hats, and they all look of the time.
Somebody there in a hoodie and a baseball cap.
Slap bang in the middle, there's a guy wearing a jumper and sunglasses with like a modern looking. He looks modern. He looks completely out of place. And the photo's been checked for validity, and it is valid. It hasn't been doctored.
So if that's the case, then why do we not see people that stick out like futuristic in town? Or do you think there's only a couple of them?
I don't know. I'm not an expert on it, but also there was this big thing. So Nikola Tesla, however you want to pronounce his name, he was working on loads of different projects, and one of the things that he boasted to have done was to have discovered time travel and worked out.
So the one that did that thing that they thought was going to end of the world.
Yeah. And when he died, the Americans were so concerned that he had invented something that was going to be bad for civilization, they tasked a special task force to go in and clear his stuff out. And they went in to check that everything was above board. And when the inventory come back, there was some stuff that was never logged, but left and went to the American.
How do we know that though?
Well, I read it somewhere.
Hmm.
And also, just on even one step further than that, one of the men that was tasked to go and do that was Donald Trump's uncle.
Oh, I've read something about that before.
And then there's a
And then
theory.
there's a photo of that man
There's a
in
theory.
time looking very
Yeah.
similar.
There's a theory. There was a book written in ancient times that was called The Little Baron. And when you read it, I've read it and I've looked at the pictures. The picture depicted, it looks very much like Donald Trump's son, and the story talks about the future and this Baron becoming the president, growing up and becoming the president, and the years that he becomes the president in this book was the year that Donald Trump became the president. And I don't know whether I believe that Donald Trump's a time traveler, but when you read the whole thing, it's plausible. It's more plausible than the slaves built that pyramid.
You have to get a Nostradamus in the new year and see what they predict.
I'm not saying. I just think that the possibility is there. I think the possibility is there.
Well, the possibilities are endless, aren't there? There's so much we don't know about the universe and the world. And
I think there's so much that is known about it that we will never know because
they keep us focused on the machine, don't they?
Yeah. I think some of the conspiracy theories that are released, I think are released by the government to make people who have conspiracy theories look mental.
Well, it's the Tin Hat Brigade, isn't it? Or the Tinfoil Hat Brigade.
Yeah.
But at one time, those people were taken quite seriously. And I think they've become a mockery, haven't they, over time because of those connotations that they've got some sort of mental disorder.
I think if you can make...
But then David Icke doesn't make it any better, does he? Because he talks about the Queen being a lizard and...
I think if you make all conspiracy theorists look batshit crazy, then when a conspiracy theorist comes up with something that's very... I mean, look at 9/11, right? You look, oh man, the questions there is around that, like why they cleared all the rubble away, why George W. Bush and Dick Cheney answered all their questions about it in private and sealed documents, with the billions or the $500 billion that was missing from the Pentagon the day before.
There was 2 towers that came down, but there was another tower.
Yeah.
That was it didn't come down, or it did come down.
It did come down, but it shouldn't have done. And where there's photos of where the cross sections are cut across, and I'm not saying that Al Qaeda didn't do it, and I know it can be quite disrespectful to the people that
because
it
was
killed,
just horrific, wasn't it?
But there was a lot of questions that weren't answered, and anyone who questions it, you're a tin hat conspiracy theorist. Madeleine McCann, look at all the questions that weren't answered around how come her DNA was discovered in a car that was hired the week after she went missing? How come the cadaver dogs indicated that there'd been a dead body in the wardrobe, a dead body behind the sofa, and a dead body in the car that he had hired? And the minute you start coming up with conspiracy theories, because there's these people that talk about fucking what's the one, Paul McCartney actually died in the 60s, and like the crazy ones, everyone thinks that all conspiracy theorists are mad. So the minute you question anything that goes against the norm,
the status quo,
yeah.
So yeah, it's been quite an interesting chat tonight, my husband.
Yes, I've enjoyed it. We didn't talk about gaming addiction and devices, but I want to study that a little bit more.
Yeah, we can maybe talk about that another time.
Yeah, okay.
But yeah, we've talked a little bit about chronic illnesses. So I would say, in terms of chronic illness, work out what your optimum is, and there has to be a level of acceptance. I think people have to accept what their what they've got.
Mm.
And people can feel quite angry about that sometimes, can't they? They're grieving the life that they think they should have, or the abilities that they've lost.
So anyway, as I was saying, we've got Russ on tonight.
Russ,
Yeah,
absolutely average.
Absolutely average is on tonight. And I am also got a busy night tonight. Because once we've had Russ on, then I've got my podcast with I want to say Don King, but it's not Don King. The mental health comedian.
Is it Frank?
Yes, it is Frank. It's Frank King.
It's Frank King.
So he is the mental health comedian.
Is he related to Stephen?
No, shall we just finish?
No. He's a mental health
The
comedian.
mental health comedian, yeah.
Oh, cool.
And he was 20 years, he was writer for the Jay Leno show. So I'm talking to him tonight, but I don't think it can be live.
Why?
Well, they haven't kind of said it can be live. You need the toilet, don't you?
Might do.
Yeah, all right. So let's wrap it up. Remember, if you don't already subscribe. Give us some thumbs up, give us some likes, and we will see you. I'm not going to say it.
When you're older.
Achieve your goals.